So before any words even start jazzing on through, is there anything that's top of the news for you regarding the context of being together like this? Any question, any exploration, even if it is, what is satsang? Or if I were to ask each of you, and I'd love for each of you to share, um, it can be from the space of what do you want? Like, what do you feel maybe you want in life right now? And also, what are you excited to celebrate as life right now?
I would have to say, this past month, I've been, well, the universe has been showing me equal, the same, a part of. And there's been challenges at work, and even though there's differences, I have to understand that if I exist, then others exist as well in their form. And I've been not struggling, but I've been going into that where I have to allow ego to not take control at this time,
Mm,
because it's really about you and you and you and you, and everybody here is important, just as important.
beautiful.
So that's what I've been going through, is to understand and to learn to let my trauma go, and um, the having to protect myself and the fight, instead have compassion and understand that if my trueness exists, then so does everybody else's.
Beautiful. Revolutionary. Yeah. To have that awareness. Oh, yeah. It's possible that ego can run the show. It's possible that if maybe the word ego doesn't resonate with some beloveds, it's possible that an unquestioned thought, an assumption, a belief, uh, allegiance to a certain identity could take over and run the show. Say some shit, do some shit. So powerful to recognize, oh wow, there's another option here. Yeah, my life doesn't have to be informed by a limited perspective. Well meaning, maybe, well intending, maybe, or maybe the opposite of that. But there's something else that we can rely on. So I so appreciate you sharing that. Yes. I'm not just happy for you, but also happy for those that get to be around you. Lucky them. Someone noticing. Oh, I don't have to live from fear, false evidence appearing real, but I could live from the wisdom of my being, the compassion of my being. Yay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And that's, in alignment with one of my favorite words of the week, vigilance. Vigilance. Effortless vigilance. love-fueled vigilance. Anyone else want to share something? Either an exploration, a report.
I think what I've been focusing on is just presence and being in the moment, but also creating some magical moments for myself like this where I can just be present.
Yay.
There's so much doing and busyness and,
Yes.
you know, responsibilities.
Yes.
So I am just creating moments where I can just appreciate the clouds and the air and the sweet flowers and all
Yeah.
of those things. So yeah, I find that the more I create those moments for myself, the more they just happen.
I love this again. Revolutionary and such a gift. Such all benefiting activism with no action. Yay, to have the awareness, to have the recognition of the value of just being. Just being. Sometimes, even when we are engaged in our spiritual practice, we don't notice that our spiritual practice can very quickly turn into just another way for mind to reify the illusion that it's something real. So we can get really busy at all of our things and all of our learnings and all of our unlearnings and all of our energy buildings and all of our releasing and releasing and releasing. And in that, innocently overlook this bottomless ease of being, this bottomless wholeness. Of course, all necessary until it's not. This isn't about anything being wrong or anything being not so welcome. There's so much room. Isn't it wonderful? There's so much room. Everything gets to be at the party. Everything gets to be on the lap of the sacred, in the heart of the sacred. But how sweet. I'm so happy. Yeah. The value of just being. Yeah. And getting familiar with just being. You're always just being. Even mind is just being. And it's busyness. Busyness is just being busyness. Anxiety is just being anxiety. Shivers, tremors are just being shivers and tremors. Body, breath withheld, breath relaxed, tight belly, soft belly, just being. But in the context of life and contrast, we can, as we just be, we can discover the obviousness of the uninterrupted beingness of everything in a more and more obvious way, in a deeper and deeper way. Oh, just being. Chairs being, floors being, planets being. It's such a sweet gift. Yeah, ourselves. Anyone else want to share something? This is fun.
I'll go. This is fun.
Yay!
I've had sadness coming up recently
Mm.
around a pattern that I have of casting myself as someone who is unseen.
Mm.
And I've been noticing more recently the ways that I hide, actually.
Yeah.
And create that reality for myself.
Right.
And so exploring, leaning into the power of exposure.
Yes.
Exposing this ecstatic mess in whatever form.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so good. The power of exposure. We want all of it. Give us all of it. Yay. And I love the way you began in your sharing. Uh, you said something along the lines of noticing that, was it tendency or
Like a pattern.
the pattern?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, so sweet to recognize. Oh yeah, this is something that mind apparently likes to do.
Mhm. Yeah.
So great. Yeah. And what a way to be with yourself, and allowing yourself to be exposed. You're that much more available for everyone to be in the presence of a space that allows them to expose. It's just what an atmosphere of love, what an atmosphere of kindness. Yeah, so sweet. Mm. And so sweet the degree of allowing oneself to be seen from the space of, the innocent magic that there's something called seeing, and that there's something called others that are seeing something called you. There's such, the power in that, to move forward with it, even in the allegiance to that beautiful dream, the poetry of that perceptual experience. So wonderful. And then so sweet, that space also, everything in between, and then the Byron Katie, no two people have ever met. Yeah. It's like, oh wow, has anyone ever really seen you? Unless they've ever really seen themselves. And how powerful that, usually what we call seeing is mind's amazing capacity to throw spaghetti on the wall.
It's done.
It's done. Al dente. Yeah. And then it's so beautiful in this seeing, right? It's like the exposure includes everything. It's so okay to be seen in every capacity. There's so much room. There's such a welcome to be seen as anything. It's like then falling in love with everyone, as you were saying so beautifully, having their own experience. Everyone, in their own universe, and everyone so free to have their version of you, their version of you, their version of you, and a multitude of versions of you. It's so wondrous, so wondrous. Thank you.
I can go.
Yes, love.
It's I've been feeling a lot of vitality.
Vitality.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of
Speaking of vitality, Vitality just walked on in the door.
for welcoming me.
Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so a lot of vitality.
Yeah, and just like there's something around sensuality and creativity, and it's like I'll be kind of going down like this wide open highway,
Yes.
and it feels really good. But then I'll get, as life would have it, all of a sudden out of nowhere, just kind of blindsided by some internal conflict that baffles me really, and I'll get into this very like kind of immobilized state, and I'm looking at my mind and I'm like, don't believe what your mind is telling you. Don't believe, So I'm kind of, and then I have to like try really hard not to let myself get derailed into the old pattern, right?
Right.
And I've been successful the last couple times in just
Right.
going straight into the discomfort of whatever the supposed thing is.
Nice.
Then I go do the thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's uneventful. Nothing really happens.
It's not a big deal. But then after that, it's like a space has opened up for
Yes.
more energy,
Right.
good, nice, fun energy to come
Right.
through. So it's just an interesting thing how it just kind of whack.
So
It's been a ride.
interesting. Oh, I so love that. Yeah. I so love how you worded that in terms of not being derailed and also recognizing, oh yeah, mine's gonna have something to say. Mine's gonna have something to say.
And how tricky it is.
So
It just
very
keeps getting,
tricky.
I feel like it keeps getting trickier and trickier.
Yes.
Like really hard not to believe it.
Yes. And it's so nice. Like it's nice that we have like we give ourselves a buffer, right? A buffer of recognizing mind, because there's we're so conditioned and so identified as a person, as a body, as a soul, as a something. It reminds me of a song I wrote many years ago that says, "You have imagined yourself to be something. You have imagined yourself to be something. A name, personality, a gender, race, soul, energy, a point of light, an object, no matter how dense or subtle. You have imagined, you have imagined, that's all. You have imagined, that's all. You have imagined, that's all. Imagination happened, that's all. Imagination happened. So, so it's so sweet that we have this little dance, like a little bit of a cat and mouse, where mind is doing its thing, and then there's awareness over here, and then the beautiful strategies that allow us to like fall through the good trap doors, the the yummy trap doors. Oh, even more space. Oh, even more space. Oh, even more space. And so appropriate. Yeah. And then, you know, it could be fun to see when we feel like we're ready to explore with stopping and just letting everything be present. Mind, and then the subtle, um, we can say a lot of different beloveds call it the super ego. I think it's like the spiritual ego, the protector ego, um, response to the mind, response to the movement, and to have and to for a second stop and be the space for all of it. Like, oh yeah, yeah. Relaxing any story of someone going somewhere, right? Of someone learning how to recognize mind in a better capacity, someone learning how to uh, not go down those certain corridors, not believe these certain thoughts, and like allowing all of that to be here. This beloved knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's doing it right now. Being it right now. Space of replacing, right? So it's like we naturally fall into the categories of either indulging in our thinking. Anyone familiar with indulging in mind? I love when Grace cracks up. Yay, yeah, Grace laughing. Indulging in mind, indulging. Or we're either, and that's like the itch, or we're either in a space of avoiding mind. What are some of your favorite ways to avoid mind or feelings or sensation phenomena?
Vaping.
Vaping.
After
Hey,
12 years
so
of quitting.
modern. After 12 years of?
Of quitting cigarettes.
Okay, I'm quitting
It's like
cigarettes.
an irrational, rational decision.
Okay.
I'm gonna do this.
Okay. What are some of the other fun ways we attempt to avoid? Because it never ever really works. Food. So many. And there are so many, yes. We have mastered a plethora of ways to avoid. So creative.
I like to clean.
Clean. Oh, that's a nice way of avoiding.
I have to do it anyways, but I'm like, well, at least I'm doing something.
At least-
I might not be doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes, but you're doing something. There's going to be a result. And of course, we have like Netflix, either the Netflix on TV or the Netflix of our own indulgent mind. Yay. And all the sex and all the drugs, even plant medicine can be used as an avoidance mechanism. Anything. Mind will co opt the most sacred and use anything. So that's what's really powerful with, you know, the dawning of maturity. Or as Gangaji says, maturity. The maturity to recognize in our own self, oh, am I using this as a way to avoid? And of course, avoid has its place. It's had its place in the evolution of our species. Not saying there's anything wrong with it, but what's really sweet about all these conversations and invitations and retreats and workshops and meditations and and and, and this dance of phenomena, spiritual phenomena, gives us an opportunity to recognize, oh, there's other options here. Yay. I can recognize the tendency to indulge, the tendency to avoid, and the tendency to want to be engaged in strategies of replacement, where we replace a negative with a positive, usually. Though, if you're really kinky, some people be replacing a positive with a negative. They'll be like, no, 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 bitch. Yes.
I feel like for the past few years I've been going through spiritual amnesia.
I'm so glad. Congratulations.
Yeah. And there was such in the beginning of my path, like maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I was just like zenned out, religiosity, austere, just really into that and like the rites and everything and discipline.
Mm.
It was just too rough.
Yeah.
For me. And I found that I couldn't hold on to that anymore. But then it sent me back into like samsara.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to express
So
gratitude
sweet.
to you and to you for just like being here because I didn't know this is what it was gonna be.
I love that.
I was just like, well, I enjoy Frida. I'll probably enjoy Frida's environment.
Yay, Frida's environment.
And so there's just, it just feels really kind and nice on my system after sort of like rejecting what I thought would work and then sort of like tumbling into samsara and all the futile behaviors and thoughts and endeavors that accompany that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so fully received. Yeah. Thank you. I just felt like we're all sitting in a milk bath. So it's so sweet how kind the option to allow everything to be as it is. You know, for the nervous system, for the mind. It's like getting familiar with your whole being as kindness itself. A kindness that has never gone anywhere, that has never faltered, that naturally it's really elastic. All of its collagen is so there. It's like so bounce right back. I'm glad something has its color. But again, so reliable. This is how we get familiar with how reliable the aware immediacy of our being is. How reliable spaciousness is. Yeah. Anyone else want to share something? Or a particular topic you think would be juicy to explore?
I've been sitting with Lexi's post from earlier today about
Yay.
spirituality not being a substitute for therapy and
Right.
therapy and and just I feel like
So valuable to recognize.
that's a question I always wrestle with. I don't know, just explore because
Yeah.
being trained as a therapist, but then also just being really drawn to this. I feel like sometimes they feel like they're in conflict, but that's
Right.
just
And sometimes they are, in a sense, which is like, oh, it's so good to have the context and to recognize this is so appropriate or this is not appropriate right now, depending on the flavor of mind, the flavor of the persona, the flavor of the environment, the flavor of the moment. And then that's a really sweet skill that wisdom is already so available for, you know, and our willingness to recognize, our willingness to be available for that knowing, whether it's quiet or whether it's really obvious. Yeah, it's like, oh, this moment, this is what's appropriate. And in this moment, maybe it's saying a little something. I call it the cobra of clarity. The cobra of clarity has no respect for any of our systems. Thank God. The cobra just comes right through. Hit you right in the kundalini. And also, I think it's really sweet to recognize, you know, what a lot of people call spirituality is still mental illness. And I say mental illness in the context of it's still mind. It's still, it's not, it may appear to be something different, but it's still relying on the same old, of indulging, avoiding, replacing. And it's still emphasizing a separate self. It's still emphasizing someone having to do something, someone having to heal something, someone having to fix something, someone having to learn something, someone having to vibrate something, someone having to, yeah, so it's so interesting. The innocence of the spiritual religion that is an option in our experience.
Remember you said the other day about the footprints?
Oh, yes. That's such a great quote. I'll say it again. Let's say, what was it? Religions, including spiritual religions, are but the footprints of where truth once walked. The footprints of where, of that. So innocent. It also reminds me of the story of God and the devil looking at someone They're like up in the clouds. You know, this is an old story, beloveds, but bear with me. God and the devil up in the clouds, watching someone in the desert struggling, and they're like stumbling, and they're just about to die, and they're both like, "Who's gonna get him? Who's gonna get him? Who's gonna get him?" God's like, "I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him. He's gonna see the light." The devil's like, "No, we ain't, bitch. I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get this one's coming to me. This one's coming to my house." And the guy's stumbling in the desert, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, why have you forsaken me, God? Why have you forsaken me?" And the devil's like, and the guy falls on the floor, his face in the sand. And then God's like, "But wait." And then a rose or some kind of desert flower blooms right in front of the man's face. And he's like, "There is a God." And God's like, "Yes." And then the devil's like, "I'm going to make him name it." Or something like that. The devil's like, "Oh, okay." Shit.
Oh no.
It was going so well. Fuckity fuck, fuck,
You
fuck,
can
fuck,
make
fuck.
it up.
Yes. It was something along the lines of, "I'm going to make him describe it," pretty much. The devil's like, "Oh, he's going to describe this moment." And when as soon as he describes it, he's coming to me. Showing up, the man described it. Described it. Described it. Describe it. But do you understand what the story's pointing at? The moment we shift the emphasis of our experience and rely on our descriptions, we innocently overlook the total, fully soaked to the bone heaven that is this moment, that is life itself. Descriptions are wonderful, and how fun that we get to have a new relationship with them. You know, the relationship that we have right now as a species is very lopsided, where there's full on allegiance to the things we make up, and we forget we make them up, and we believe that they're real, and then we go splattering them on everything we see and everyone we see. And war is inevitable. Enemy is inevitable. Other is inevitable. Uh, Clinging to the past, not wanting to change, inevitable. And the relying on descriptions. So subtle, and yet so powerful to recognize. Oh, hi. And recognize the innocence of describing. It's like that's what mind does. It describes. That's what that facet of intelligence does. Candace O'Denver, who's one of my beloved teachers, now she is known as ZG Rinpoche, as Wangdo Rinpoche of this beloved Dzogchen lineage, has named her as his successor, which is so very sweet. Dzogchen in Buddhism is pretty much the Advaita Vedanta, the Satsang, the non-dual, the direct path, natural perfection, right here. Dzogchen, and it predates Buddhism actually. But I love how she communicates. There's a closed system of intelligence and an open system of intelligence. And it's like all the spiritual drag, all this the wondrous dance of this deepening, this invitation, this exploration is simply consciousness itself shifting its allegiance, shifting the emphasis of its experience from a closed system of intelligence. What is a closed system of intelligence? It's the way that mind operates. Tries to put everything in a pocket of information, define, categorize, compare. Innocent, it's the power of mind, including the most subtle things: spirit, soul, subtle body, rainbow body, um, uh, even consciousness and awareness. if vigilance isn't present, are all of a sudden objects and overlooked as the immediacy of perception, the immediacy of this moment. And it's so very wondrous that we can learn, right, to recognize, oh wow, look at that operating system doing its thing, wanting to name, categorize, compare, name, measure. Yeah, powers of mind. So appropriate, so practical, so has its place, and spacious, empty of an independent nature, no substance there. And then we shift to this, what she calls open intelligence. An intelligence that has never been limited, that has never been captured in any attempt to name something. So it's kind of like allowing ourselves to recognize that just because we've called a can a can, just because we called a can, has never truly made it so. It's just called that, but it's not completely, absolutely that. Same with a toe and a fork and a chakra and a prostate and any description, any description, wondrously called that, but not fully that. Everything's still free, perceptually blown wide open, spacious. And now we have high powered microscopes, wondrously, the courage of human beings willing to actually look a little bit closer at something. Okay, this is what it appears to be from this distance. And what if we look a little bit closer? Dance a little bit closer. Dance a little bit closer. Dance a little. My grandmother, who's Cuban, she didn't know that it said a little bit closer. She thought it said, dance arriba del closet. Dance arriba del closet. Dance on top of the closet is what she thought the song said. Dance arriba del closet. Dance arriba del closet. I love you, abuelita Margarita, Fredevindo, Honduli, Agüero. Ay, Dios mío. And so it's so wondrous, to look a little bit closer. And as awareness, you know, we have that full capacity already present with us at all times. We don't need to buy it at REI. We don't need to find it on top of a mountain. We don't need to find it inside of a dragon's butthole. We don't need to find it in the hell. Dragon's butthole.
Just start with the duck.
Start with a duck. Oh, I love this Satsang. It's not your mama Satsang, okay? Just warning you bitches. Just warning you bitches. So sweet. Closed system of intelligence, open system of intelligence. And I love that Candace O'Denver invites in her wording of this sweet little practice that has been unfolding, especially in Dzogchen traditions for thousands of years, the invitation for short moments of open intelligence, repeated many times, reveals itself to be continuous.
Reveals itself what?
To be continuous. Short moments of open intelligence, repeated many times, reveals itself to be continuous. Thank you, beloved Candace O'Denver, for that beautiful, succinct teaching and wording. What I love about that is that this is something that we can experiment with from the spirit of curiosity and for the love of truth, no matter what we're doing. So it's not about taking it to the mat, even though you could take it to the mat. It's not about, having a meditation room or going to your favorite rock up in, Rocky Mountain National Park or in the Himalayas or wherever on the planet, right where you are, just as you are, sitting, fucking, dreaming, singing, dancing, uh, you know, judging, whatever it may be, or judging. Is that the word? Judging? Judging. Yes, clear eye for the straight guy. Yes, judging. That's a show. That's a TV show. It doesn't matter what we're doing. We can always stop and notice, shift the emphasis. All right, this is what it feels like to be here as limited, as closed system of intelligence. So that means I'm sitting in a chair. This is my name. This is my body. This is my planet. This is my Milky Way. This is my all the descriptions. Anything can be a description. Everything is a description. And to be willing to like not know for a moment. Allow everything to be as it is. Not have to change anything. Not be in the energy of reaching for pleasure or keeping away pain. But just allowing this moment to be as it is. Descriptions may be present. I love how it's kind of like for a moment stop thinking. In the dun 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 dun, cha 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 cha. In that cha, just stop thinking for a moment. Thoughts are gonna come back right away. But notice there's a cognizance present, not relying on thought, not relying on having to know something. An awareness present that isn't bound to to needing an object to be aware of, to be itself. Just the power to know. You could even do this while you're driving because it's a second. It's not like you move into a meditative state or even a non-conceptual state or a yogic state or move into any CDs or any certain kind of yogic powers. It's just as immediate perception, as awareness, full on right. One's innate primordial right to be familiar with what's here. No one is. Essentially, primarily, and in full celebration of whatever the descriptions are, never separate from this open intelligence. Evidence of open intelligence.
So,
Yes, honey bunny, sugar baby, sweetie baby,
everyone,
cookie baby.
really. So it feels so good to be here.
I'm so happy you're here.
So as I'm listening, my mind thinks in initials sometimes, and
Oh, I love that.
I love words.
Me too.
So I hear you say imagine, when you're singing, and so I guess my question is, what's the distinction between either me saying it like I'm saying now, or even just my mind? So I go to the word root mag, and I'm saying, oh, like magnesium. Mag means huge.
Yes.
So if you're imagining, it could be hugely, falling in that place you so articulately said, or magic, like magic.
Yes.
And then I heard you say a void. It's like
Yes.
a void.
A
So
void.
I guess the distinction between, we can't just
love
be nothing. Like, I don't mean that.
What?
Like, we have to communicate, or our mind is active. And so it helps me with micro steps when I
love
learn
micro
something like
steps.
practical. If I have a little bit of a structure, even though I know you're saying we don't need to look for structure or how to get better. It's just when I have a teeny bit structure, it goes. I can let
So
go
beautiful
of
to
the
recognize.
seeking.
Yes.
So, and I kind of just was even a little bit laughing to myself because I'm like, I usually just like thinking or talking, and there was no need. But then I was kind of like, ooh, that's a level 4, that one, that desire. That was kind of a 7, but mostly I'm hovering at 2. It was more just being, but my mind just goes to structure.
I love that.
So anyway, if you have
Yes.
anything or about that distinction of that micro step to retain the no mind.
So beautiful. Well, I just want to, how wonderful the creativity of mind and where it will go. And and so sweet to acknowledge how beneficial structure has been in one's own experience, how how reliable structure has been for certain aspects of life. And also, so let's say in this moment you be completely relax all structure as an experiment.
Then I want like a drug or something. Then I want
Right.
it's not compelling though. I'm surprised right now. When I think a nice topic for me is when my physical body, I put my legs together because we've done it before. I'm contained and my mind is quiet. Whereas when I'm just sitting without this, I know it sounds weird, I'm more neither here nor there. So when I do this, I'm just like our physical.
I love
will be
how
nice.
you're showing up for yourself, right?
Yeah.
How you've discovered these different ways of showing up for yourself and supporting, holding some attention, supporting.
It's like I feel like I've said this before, like a sensation junkie. I just
Right.
like a Vicks inhaler.
A Vixen
it
inhaler.
helps
Who
me.
doesn't love a
Helps
Vixen
me.
inhaler?
Just anything that gives a little journey.
Yes.
And so part of me
yes.
feels like that's natural to us to
And
want
so-
not just the rote and to have a little smell the flower.
Yeah.
I know you're not saying anything differently, I guess.
Yeah. But beloved, so in this moment, would you be willing to feel into what arises if you allow yourself to relax, reaching for any of the wonderful, supportive
You mean when
training
they come, 'cause
wheels?
I'm not looking for anything, but when they
Right.
come, going with it. I mean, I don't feel like I'm like thinking and wondering, but when it comes, it just feels like it just comes. You're saying, little or big, it's a matter of going with it, I guess. So that there's a micro step.
Yeah,
for
it can
me.
be so compelling. Yeah, I mean, so compelling and so attractive and so entertaining, to move. And we haven't learned. Our parents, weren't Buddhas. Our parents, even if they were Buddhists, weren't Buddhas. And our society, the way that we've been taught, the way that we've been trained, not just with words and language, but energetically. I mean, it's kind of like I imagine the image that I receive is like human beings learning how to finally fucking land on the planet. Where we think we're on the planet, but we're all out here, hovering the atmosphere. And as soon as there's a willingness to get a little closer to that atmosphere, shit's gonna start to burn. And we go right back up out to space. It's like we want to do whatever we can not to feel that discomfort, not to feel that anxiety, not to feel that roar, that burn, and it can be so beneficial to have our training wheels, to have the things that have supported us, and to either by one's own accord or the benefit of having someone who's already gone through that experience supporting one, to be willing to, for microseconds, this is not for the rest of your life now. You can hold on to your training wheels for like 99% of the day, but for one tiny millisecond, be willing to be here without reaching for any of the strategies. Be willing to be here without reaching for any of the structure of support, not as a way of dishonoring it, not as a way of dishonoring oneself. And of course, being honest with if it's something that resonates to explore. It can be a completely counterintuitive because to the ego, The ego feels like it's going to die if it doesn't do the Vicks vapor thing. The ego feels like it's going to die if it doesn't move into its structure, its safety, its training wheels. And the ego's pretty smart in that way because it is. In other words, as we allow ourselves to fully be here and not reach for any of the strategies, which I invite you to do right now.
Let's see, for instance, you just closed your eyes. So I'm so wanting to close my eyes right now. I can take so much in. It's like kind of, we're not here, but you know, like we don't do that in life. But when, so that's a structure that I'm reaching for and wanting right now, like this, in order that I can, when I just close my eyes, I so much more don't reach for anything and can absorb. So, like, I know I'm asking silly, you know, like silly kind of questions, but so in that moment, Ash, when I'm just listening and I'm having eye contact and looking else,
This moment.
I'm kind of like,
this moment.
if I do this, I feel more in the moment and I can be.
Oh, so good.
Okay.
Notice what doesn't change. So there may be something that changes. So I love the nuance that you're speaking to. Again, this is our allegiance to descriptions, and the description being, I'm more in the moment, I'm less in the moment, or but you know, close your eyes and give yourself that hit of being more in the moment. And everyone at home is welcome to do that too. Everyone here.
Well, there's just literally so much stimulation.
And as you open your eyes, what's the same with the sense of being in the moment and the sense of being stimulated?
My body just feels completely different. Like
Okay,
subtly, but
so
different.
body feels different, and then notice, beloveds, if there is innocently, because body is so powerful, body is so amazing, body is so wonderful, body is so delicious, and body is so humbling, and body is so scary, and body's everything. But it's so innocent how we use body as the gauge. We use body as the reference point to whether we are here or not, to whether we are free or not, to whether we are present or not. And we may have subtle sentences swirling around the atmosphere of our being, such as, oh, if my body's tense, that means I'm not present. Or, oh, if my body feels off, that means I'm not here. Or, oh, if my body feels, oh, when my body feels at peace, that means I'm present. Oh, when my body feels relaxed, that means my mind is still. Or that means that I've reached a good frequency or a good vibration. So innocently still relying on body to be the evidence of what naturally doesn't come or go.
And like you said before, think of how many practices, for better or worse. I mean, you know, and the billion-dollar industry created around, there's nothing wrong with it, but just practices of whether it's religion or breathing. So we're, like you said, we're kind of oriented to find something that will, whatever the state.
Right, yes. Find something, look for something, and something may deliver the goods for a little while, but thank goodness it always gets stale. And then we go to the next thing, because then that gets stale, and then we go to the next thing. And this moves into strategies of replacing. And we overlook, we don't notice that there is something here, not limited by body or how body feels. There's something here that is exalted regardless of how body feels. There is something here exalted regardless of how phenomena is dancing, of how sound is dancing, of how vision is dancing, of how all the apparent senses are dancing. And the invitation to notice that is satsang. To notice and to notice how it isn't noticed. And how it isn't noticed is when we are looking for things that change to tell us who we are. Body's gonna change. Body's gonna feel all kinds of things. Body gonna feel that peace. Body gonna feel that peace. Body gonna feel that Ba-da-da-da-da-da. I got that TikTok song in my head. Mind is gonna change. Boy, sometimes we want mind to be a certain way. And we want to have all the right beliefs and all the right thoughts and all the right interpretations and perceptions. Mind, not reliable. Body, also not reliable. In the dream of things, oh, what a wonderful place to explore body is. Such a wonderful gift. Body always present, body always ruthless. Not asking us, is it okay if I'm tense right now? It's like, here's tenseness. Body's gonna be itself. And also, energy. If we're relying on energy and vibration or frequency, innocently, also unreliable.
You mean when you say energy, like
Mm-hmm.
I know it can be used like someone's energy, but when you were speaking, I tend not to worry or things that so I can live with disorder, but I feel all of a sudden no energy. Like that's my, deliverance out of the presence when I'm more apt to reach for things. It's just like like no inspiration.
Right.
And that's a signal to me like something's not good. I'm just not alive. And then I want to.
And the invitation here is to be totally not alive, not in the context of body not being alive. Just to be clear, beloveds. but be totally blah. Give yourself permission to like not be intrigued by anything. Not be excited about anything. Not be delight, like just.
But mine lasts. It doesn't pass.
Sorry.
It lasts. Like
Well,
or I guess I've
well,
never let it.
Well, this is the fact. Well, good to
Yeah.
so good to notice. Yes.
It's like I'm in a spiral downward and I can't have this.
It totally seems that way. And it, one of the big surprises for me, because I'm so familiar with this, it's like so jazzed up with having a certain state and being a certain way to avoid the never-ending spiral of the opposite or of the fear. It's like depression always breathing down our neck, despair always breathing down our neck. And then it's like, oh, last time it was 2 months, last time it was 4 months. Oh shit, what if it's like for the rest of my life? And we put ourselves, we self-diagnose ourselves, and then we also put ourselves in the context of this made-up story of time and space, and it's so innocent. That's what mind does, and it has its place. And then we reach for imaginary medicine for imaginary disease that may be supportive at one point. But if you're here and if you're watching this right now, somehow there's been an essential experience. Somehow there's been a cut in the story. There's been a crack in the identity. Somehow there's been an opening. And the old way of doing things is no longer what's the word?
The default.
The default way. There's a deeper longing, there's a deeper celebration. There's a deeper recognition. It's like freedom has made its claim. Freedom has whatever you fancy, freedom claiming you, whatever image that might be. But there's been a claiming. And in that claiming, here you are to explore, to hear, to consider that regardless of what body is doing or mind is doing, or world is doing, or universe is doing. Who you are closer than any thought, closer than any feeling, closer than any dream, closer than any state, closer than any one relating to freedom, closer than anyone relating to consciousness, closer to anyone in a journey of freedom or in a journey of consciousness, closer than anything here as beingness itself. We give ourselves permission to be in the context of a life that appears to be the opposite of being, to recognize maybe beingness is who I am. We give ourselves permission to be in the moment, in the context of a life that doesn't encourage, apparently doesn't encourage us to be in the moment, to consider and get familiar with that we are the moment itself. We're not someone in the moment, out of the moment. We're not someone being and not being. We're not someone that Shakespeare asks questions about. We're not someone. It's like who you are is consciousness. And in allowing the moment to be as it is, we recognize that, life has only ever exalted consciousness. And life hasn't been separate. The feelings of body have never been an obstruction to this that I am as consciousness. It may feel that way to body. What has a problem with mind? Does consciousness have a problem with mind? Only mind has a problem with mind. Only thought has a problem with thought. Only ego has a problem with ego. Only chili has a problem with chili. Tri-colored beans in your chili. So, yes, love.
In your experience, for the times that are not, like when you're just not experiencing peace or equanimity, say you're enraged, what is like the application of this awareness look like paired with those moments?
Such a good question. Yeah, when there's rage here, when you're enraged, when you're not at peace per se. So, there's such permission, endless permission, endless willingness as an option for everyday human life, not as an option for someone born under some auspicious star, as an option for everyday human life. The option of permission, the option of willingness. So permission for every sensation, permission for every appearance, permission for life to be itself, all inclusive, bottomless willingness, willingness for any sensation, willingness for any perception, any interpretation. In the depth of that willingness and in the recognition that, oh my goodness, a sense of someone with something, it's kind of like to the degree that we imagine ourselves to be something is to the degree that we imagine other things to be other things. And as we get more and more familiar with this sky-like stability that all appears in, that animates all, that this apparent body appears in, apparent ash appears in, apparent someone appears in, we recognize the uninterrupted nature of this ground of being, of this spaciousness. And in that, again, full permission. Uh, and so, in order for certain feelings to arise and to be so strong, um, we need to believe certain thoughts. We need to have an idea such as, this shouldn't be happening. We need to betray ourselves, turn our face from the sacred, and believe sentences like, this shouldn't be happening, this shouldn't be here. Uh, Now, in the context of a human being species evolving, oh my gosh, to believe this shouldn't be here is so appropriate. And so it's really wonderful. It's kind of like Crazy Grace. Crazy Grace. Isn't there a movie or like a documentary called Crazy Insane Grace or Crazy Grace from the Naropa beloved? The Shambhala beloved? Crazy wisdom. Crazy wisdom. Just looking at Grace, my eyes are on Grace. Crazy wisdom. So it's like resistance so has its place in the evolution of this. It's imaginary medicine for imaginary disease in the context of a species evolving, in the context of the oppressed no longer being oppressed, oppressive systems falling, dismantling by our crazy wisdom and our crazy grace and our willingness to be enraged and our willingness to say, no, this is not right. And our willingness to say, fuck no, this is not right. And our willingness to march and our willingness to vote and our willingness to consider other options and reevaluate, all the various structures and all the various systems. All those energies, so appropriate. Um, but it's really sweet to recognize that suffering isn't a mystery anymore. It doesn't have to be a mystery. Anger doesn't have to be a mystery anymore. Emotions don't have to be a mystery anymore. We can really start slowing it down. Hi, pretty birdie. Really start slowing mind down and get really familiar. And life will give us every opportunity. Life as Sadguru, life as the guru, life as the teacher, life as life. Have you noticed life showing up as life? Have you noticed life lifing? Have you noticed that not everything has an ointment for it? Wondrous, wondrous, wondrous. And so it doesn't have to be a mystery. I really recommend an exploration in the work of Byron Katie as beautiful technology, as a beautiful download, to get really skilled at recognizing how emotion is created, how rage comes to be, how fear comes to be, how sadness comes to be, how, and not to say that there's anything wrong with any of those, all sensation welcome. Again, how sweet. It's kind of like when we don't want to feel our feelings or we want to control our feelings, um, we're in a space of not informed by the wisdom of our being. We're informed by fear, even with the best intentions. But to, let's say, anyone have a stressful thought you'd like to question as a way to explore what the work looks like? A thought that feels really stressful, limiting, or like really like, ugh. Even if it's like, I should be awake by now, or I'm asleep, or life is hard, or letting go. Okay, like I have to let go, or I can't let go. Both. Yeah. So, and then, well, I can play around with this a little bit more. So, what would letting go give you? If I let go fully, what would that give you?
Freedom.
Freedom. Okay. Yeah. So fun. So, you have to let go fully in order to be free. This is a concept. So, anyone familiar with this concept? Maybe there's plenty of people on the planet will be like, oh yes, I gotta let go fully in order to be free. And a bitch can't let go. I thought I let go, but then the next minute I realized, oh shit, I didn't let go. I just lifted a pinky and I got 4 fingers still right onto that. So let's question that concept. You need to let go fully in order to be free. First question, is it true? You need to let go fully in order to be free. Is that true?
No.
No. How wonderful to recognize. It's a whole other world. So it's like, oh, such permission. Even if it feels as if I'm holding on forever, I'm still free.
Yeah.
Ah.
It's so. A few days ago, I was in the kitchen cooking, and my mom speaks to me a lot. She has transitioned, and um, I kept wanting. I felt resistance at the same time, but I felt also like freeing, and I felt myself like I have to be either or, free or resisting.
Right.
It was like I was on top of the mountain, and I was on the edge of the mountain, walking on the edge like a tightrope, and I felt like I always had to choose either the mountain or just be free, go fly and be free. But then I was like, but wait a minute, you know, it still feels like I'm there's a fight mode right in that.
Right, and there is.
So
War.
So my mom, she said, Mija, if you fly, you fly. If you're on the mountain, you're grounded.
Ah.
When you land on the ground, you'll be on the ground.
I love it. There you are, wherever you are.
Yeah.
So beautiful. So beautiful. But yeah, and we can torture ourselves with these innocent beliefs of something we have to do for freedom. And the invitation is maybe you don't have to do anything for freedom. Maybe freedom is your nature. And maybe the hand that holds on is free to hold on. Holding on is free. It's like freedom is all inclusive, which is so sweet. A huge gift that I invite anyone to explore is in a moment of stuff apparently here rising, give yourself the gift to just let everything know how free it is.
Everything.
Let everything know how free it is. So let mind know how free it is. Oh my God, look how free you are, mind. And look how confident you are in your freedom, that you're willing to imagine this or say this or accuse this or blame this. Look how free you are, mind. If body is having an episode, oh my goodness, look how free you are, body. Look how free you are, nervous system. Look how free you are, skin. Look how free you are, cancer. Look how free you are, disease, diagnosis. Look how free you are, discomfort. Look how free you are, kidney stone. Look how free you are, whatever the apparent appearance. And of course, this doesn't mean that you're not calling the doctor or taking an Advil, all of it, or calling the specialist, or waking up your beloved and say, "Take me to the emergency room." All of that can still, I love how Byron Katie also so beautifully communicates. There's only two ways to do anything: one in peace and one in stress. And so even as our life unfolds, the moment's so clear, I had a kidney stone not too long ago, probably about a year and a half ago now. And I had a kidney stone in Creststone. Hey, I know how to do it. If you're going to have a kidney stone, you may as well have it at Creststone. And I have this kidney stone. And then the context of it was so perfect because there we are at an Airbnb that's like a mothership dome, like really cool Airbnb, and everyone has their various places where they're sleeping. And I was like, oh, I could totally sleep on that futon. I'm a traveling musician. I've slept all kinds of places. I could sleep anywhere. And so I sleep on this futon, and it wasn't the most comfortable thing in the world, but I fell asleep. And I fell asleep in great gratitude and bliss. I'm thinking of all the different beds. I was just like, oh my gosh, all the I was imagining all the bodies and all kinds of different beds and just like look at this moment showing up for itself. Look at floor showing up for itself. Look at futon. I was just like, oh, so blissful. I fall asleep. When I woke up in the morning, well, something happened in the middle of the night that was hilarious too, but we won't go there. But when I woke up in the morning, the most intense sensation, body sensation, pain I ever experienced. Like just like my just like whoa. And then I was like, oh, mind, stories, fascinating. Say, oh, does this mean I can't sleep on futons anymore? Are you that much of a princess? Are you that much of a little bitch that you don't want to body? Come on now, what's up with you? What's up with you? You need to have a 4-inch mattress topper. I was just like, oh, walk down to the bathroom, and it's just like, oh, it's this sense of like needing to release something, but no, but everything I released wasn't it. And it's just like, whoa. And then I was just like, oh, and then it's moment to moment, just like, oh wow, it was like the image of me lying down on the earth came, and it's like, oh, so such clear guidance. I walk outside, I lie down on the earth. This is like 7 in the morning, and I lie there and I'm just like, oh, hi, Earth. There's all kinds of interesting things here. Do you want any of this? Do you need any of this for the art, for your art? There's all kinds of raw materials here. That you need any of this energy for the art of your day, for what you want to create today in the planet. Go ahead, beloved. It's all your whatever you want, you know. So, and then in that openness, I felt amazing. I got up. I always did a music video that day. I put on all my makeup and my lashes. I got my outfit. I got the playlist. Uh, I was doing, I was dancing up a storm, and it was Afro-Cuban dancing. So I was like, singing everything, and just all over the place, doing all these dances, and boom. I mean, with a kidney stone, but I wasn't feeling it anymore. I had no clue it was a kidney stone. We go to other locations in Crestone. We go to the Stupa. We go to the Zikr. And then on our way to like a dinner, a friend of mine makes this delicious feast for all of us. And we go to my friend's dinner. As soon as I open the car door, the pain in the body was so strong. I felt the body faint. Like I had to hold on to the door. It was like, and I'm just like, oh, this is so interesting. And then it's Crestone, and it's my friend, so everyone's a healer. Everyone's a healer. Everybody got their tuning forks. Everybody got their working on my bio yarn. And, and working on, but my past life self 4 lifetimes ago that didn't deal with the sadness of my losing my father. Yeah, and then also working on the what happened in the back. Maybe it's a back thing, and then and I had a subwoofer over here, and also they had all kinds of magical, little tricks out for kids. So they're like, would you like some mushroom? Would you like some ecstasy? Would you like some ayahuasca? Would you like some San Pedro? And I'm just like, thank you, beloved. Thank you, beloved. Thank you, beloved. And then my intuition was like, it's. I don't think it's your past life father drowning in the river. My intuition was like, I don't know if it's really my bio yarn or this disc or that disc or something with the energy. And it was so. But what I loved is that even with the feelings, it's like kindness not interrupted at all. The kindness of every moment. It's like kindness cannot be interrupted. Even with the sensations, it's just like, oh my God, kindness. Oh, the kindness of the door. When I put my hands and my body was gonna faint, it's like I could fall into the kindness of that, the ocean of that kindness, and live there forever. I mean, the kindness of the uninterrupted moment. And then it was so clear. I was like, oh, thank you, beloved, so very much. I'm gonna go to the hospital. I'm like, it's so clear to go to hospital, get some x-rays, you know, let's bring this body to the professionals. Thank you so. Not saying they weren't professionals, but in the context of this, it was so clear. Let's do this. And I told my friends came, they brought me in the car driving, the throwing up, the pain was so intense. Uh, and then we had to call an ambulance to meet us halfway because we're also in a tiny town and the hospital's an hour away. And so, even with the sensation, even with the, it was just like kindness, not interrupted. How kind of my friends to drive me. How kind of my friend to think, oh, let's call the ambulance to meet us, you know, so they can, especially since we don't know what's going on, and it was just like such kindness. And then we're in the ambulance comes, and I go into the ambulance, and I'm laying there in the ambulance, and the guy's like, well, because you're having sensations in your abdomen, I can't give you any painkillers because we have to wait to get to the doctor to know what's going on. And I was like, oh, so clear, so clear, and I so appreciate that. And the pain was just my body's going like this. like 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 Shannon's body right now. Shannon's sitting there going, oh, and and then all of a sudden, the beloved that's there with me wants to put an IV in my arm, and we're on mountain, no roads, go, you know, bounce like this, and he's like, okay, I'm just waiting for like a smooth section, and there'll be like a 3-second smooth section. He's like, oh. He did this like 5 or 6 times, and I'm just like, excuse me, beloved. Would you be willing to let the driver know to stop for a second? I think it's okay if you just have him stop for a moment, and as he stops, then you can put the IV in. And he was like, oh, good idea. Good idea. So then my friends are following me in this ambulance, and all of a sudden, this ambulance with the lights on stops. And their minds were like, oh shit, he's dead. They were like, they run up to the door. They're like, what happened? No, he asked us to stop to put in the IV. And it's just like in the sensation, kindness, not broken. When we were evacuated from the fires, we could only see 2 feet in front of us. We had fire on this side of the complex, on that side of the complex in Superior. And it was like, oh my God, this 2 feet that we can see is more than enough. It's perfect to see the car right in front of us. It's like, oh, and then this cop showing us the way. Oh, and then this person calling saying, it's like kindness, not interrupted. Here, such an opportunity. Oh, this direction. Oh, this direction. Oh, now this. Oh, now this. And life here for itself, showing up for itself as everything, as whatever is needed. This moment knows how to respond to itself. That is trustworthy. I've discovered that to be trustworthy.
Going with the flow.
Hey,
Just flowing.
just flowing. Would you like to sing? Talking about going with the flow, would you be willing to sing a little something for us, beloveds?
Yes.
Oh, do you mind if I move the camera around? Are you guys okay if I move this around? Yay!
Okay. I'm just gonna let it flow.
I love that.
You gotta let it flow, let it flow. You gotta ride the wave, ride it slow. Just be, just be, just be, just be, just be. moment is yours. Your moment is yours.
Thank you, moment is yours. The moment is yours. Be in the flow.
Yes.
Just gotta let it flow, let it flow. Notice it's flowing, notice it's flowing. Mind as it is flowing. All the feelings of the body. Oh, as it is flowing, flowing. There is a flow you know. It's the flow of your soul that has never been interrupted. No, 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 no. A flow that has never stopped. A flow that has never once been seduced by any dam, no matter how sophisticated it's been built. No matter the case of its existence, this flow not impressed with any dam. This flow fully here, this flow, no interrupting my flow. It's alright if you want to call in the rain. Bang pots and pans, make some noise, don't forget the pain. It only contributes to enriching the fields of my inside landscape. There isn't a storm large enough that can scare the sky away. That line deserves repeating. There isn't a storm large enough that can scare the sky away. Oh no, no interrupting my flow. The Ganges fly out of my soul. I'm drenching the world with a love so deep it has no boundaries, no interrupting my flow. This moment's beyond all control. I give all I have and more love rushes right in to fill me. I give all I have and more love rushes right in to fill me. Thank you, beloveds. Thank you so much for the satsang. Thank you, thank you. You're welcome if it resonates to leave a little donation here around the interwebs. And beloveds, thank you so much for joining us. My first satsang live on the YouTube community. Hey, hey. So appreciate. I gotta learn where to find where the comments are. Mm-hmm. 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 Thank you, loves. Bye. And now I gotta find out how to turn this off.